What's up, YouTube? Brett here from Villains Drift.
You step upon me, blood in my dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be, and niggas trying to take my life away.
That's kind of a side hobby in my shop. I work on JDM cars, buy and sell them for fun, and my wife and I both drift. So one thing I've been doing the last 5 or 6 years is the R34. I've done a couple GTR body conversions on them, and I've had a few people send me their cars to get done, which is really cool. I really don't mind that at all. I love doing it. I've got a good friend that does paint and body work for me, and then I handle most of the assembly and disassembly and parts and stuff here in my shop. But yeah, here's my next one. So I thought I'd make a video, since these cars are legal this year, on what all you need to do the conversion and try to answer most of the questions. So in the rear, there's a few pieces you need to do it properly. You need the OEM GTR metal quarter panels, which are still available. You need the OEM GTR taillight plastic covers. And you need the OEM GTR rear bumper. And then above and beyond that, you need the red fog light for this side of the license plate. And then you also need a GTR spoiler. The metal quarter panel requires all the glass to come out and all the interior to come out to properly cut and weld around all these seams to get that off and put the new one on, kind of like a body shop would do if you got into a crash. The body line is going to poke out quite a bit more, so having the factory taillight cover that pops out right here to match is going to be key. And also the rear bumper, it's going to go out at an angle so that it matches up to the wider body, and it's going to have a little bit different design to stand out as a GTR bumper. The red fog light piece is just kind of an OEM thing that the GTR does. You don't need to do any wiring or anything. You can simply just buy the red one and stick it in there, and it'll just look like more like a GTR back here. The last piece of the puzzle for the rear is the spoiler. The trunk stays the same. The spoiler, you can't really buy an OEM one anymore. Well, you might be able to, but I haven't seen one in the last few years. So the best option that I've found is a full carbon, and then you can get the standard legs, or you can get the high legs that brings the deck up, or you can get a fiberglass one with carbon bits. I prefer the full carbon with the high legs. That's my favorite, and the carbon tends to have better fitment. If you buy an all fiberglass one, a lot of times the pieces that go across here and then they screw into the side, they aren't a very good space and they're kind of wavy. If you get a full carbon one, it tends to have better fitment, overall quality is a little better, and then you can still just paint match it to match the car. There are a couple miscellaneous pieces to go in the rear end besides that little red fog light cover to actually make everything mount up and be pretty factory back here. Obviously, when you put the GTR quarter panel on, there's going to be a welded panel in there that brings the wide body, or the inner body, out to the new wide body quarter panel. Aside from that, the pieces you need to buy are going to be the gas door, because this gas door is going to be for the wide body on the GTR. And also you need the hinge. So this one mounts just like most cars. It just goes straight in. On the GTR, the hinge actually pivots about to here. So it goes a couple inches inside the quarter panel. So in order to have this whole side be OEM and clean, you need not only the metal quarter panel, but you need the gas door, and you need the gas door hinge, and that'll complete this so that it all opens and operates and looks stock. But on the inside, besides the panel that you have to weld in here, there's also a little skirt mud flap inner piece right here. You do need the GTR piece in order to have it stick out for the factory GTR bumper and quarter panel. So this one won't be able to work, but you can buy the GTR one for the back. Now for the front end, you got a few options. I did one a few years ago that was a Z-Tune replica. So I did a full Z-Tune hood, which is the vented one, the Z-Tune fenders, which have the vent right here at the top, and then the Z-Tune front bumper. It all comes in fiberglass from Z-Tune. You can buy all that stuff if you search enough. You can buy it used or new usually, or just OEM stuff. You do need to do all three pieces. The headlights can stay the same. Obviously I need to polish mine, but the headlight fitment and everything can stay the same. The hood on the GTR does not have this drop, so the hood will actually cut across right here, and then this will be open. That's because the factory GTR bumper is connected to a one-piece top that goes up and over and down. The front fenders on the GTR are also wider to match the wider rear quarters. So you do need the fenders, the hood, and the front bumper to complete the front end to GTR. Along with the body panels in the front end, there's a few pieces that will make your life real easy, and you can still usually buy them new if you check all the sources that are available. The GTR fenders need a fender riser. It's basically a piece that bolts down to the body, and then the fender bolts on top of that to raise the fender up. That comes on the GTR. You need to put it on this car to put a GTR fender on. You also need to buy the GTR hood hinges because they're going to be different to match the height of the fender. So you need the GTR hood hinges as well. The other piece to make the hood close and the bumper mount properly is this headlight bracket. You need to get the GTR bracket so it has a top piece right here. And then there's two pieces that go across. There's one piece that goes across that go underneath the front bumper because the front bumper on the GTR will come across here. And then there's another piece that sandwiches on top of the front bumper in the same spot. And then that has that rubber gasket on. If you look at pictures of a GTR where the front bumper and the hood go together, there's a black rubber gasket right there. So you do need the headlight brackets and both of those sandwich plates to go across there for factory mounting. You also need the GTR hood hinge bracket. Can't remember exactly what they call it, but it relocates this to close on the new GTR hood location. It's just a couple bolts. You can actually keep the latch, unbolt the latch, unbolt this piece, swap it out, bolt the latch to it, and then I believe the very bottom bolt has to be drilled out or modified just a little bit from where the non-GTR bolts into the lower radiator support. But then that'll allow you to have factory mounting for the front bumper, factory closing position for the bumper and the hood, factory closing for the hood hinges and latch, and then factory fender trays. And then if you'd like, you can still buy all the factory front bumper supports that go under the headlights and the full bumper beam that goes across. So that way your GTR bumper will be fully supported like stock. The last piece of the puzzle for the front end is going to be your fender liners. Since it's going to be a wider body and all the pickup points on the front bumper are going to be different, you can still buy the factory fender liners so when you're done, you don't get all this dirt and mud up inside your engine bay and inside your car. Now we move on to, well, the last piece of the puzzle on the exterior really, and it's kind of the holy grail, and that's your side skirts. So if you buy a Z-Tune front fender, it's going to have this piece of the side skirt built into the fender, so you will only need this piece to go across for the GTR. And you cannot use these parts because the new GTR quarter panel right there is going to be wider, so these parts are not going to bolt up. They won't stick out as far, and this body line won't match. But I can't remember what side it is, but one side of this car for the GTR, the side skirt's been discontinued for about 10 or 12 years. So you're going to be looking at like $5,000 US for a set of OEM used GTR side skirts because you can't buy one. There's 4 pieces. There's this piece and that piece on each side. So there's 2 pieces per side. So you're kind of stuck with carbon fiber and fiberglass at this point, unless you can get your hand on a used OEM skirt set, which I actually happen to have for this car. I haven't had it on any of my previous ones, but I do have OEM skirts to put on this car, and can't tell you how excited I am to put those on. But if you do end up going fiberglass, you have a couple options. Like I said, if you get Z-Tune front fenders, you don't need the front pieces because those are going to be built into the Z-Tune fender. You'll just need these pieces here. And then you'll have to figure out a way to mount some tabs on the back, and then obviously you'll have mounting tabs underneath, but you do want some tabs on the back of the skirt to clip in just like a factory skirt so that it fits good. I do not recommend buying the fiberglass skirts that have the Nismo under tray built into it. The reason why is because if you look closely where it goes from skirt to under tray, even though it goes in and makes a little crease there, it will never look like a gap. So you can buy just the small pieces, and you can buy like 6-piece sets, which is these 2 pieces and the under tray, so all 3 pieces for each side. And I do recommend, if you go fiberglass, to get that set if you want the under tray. Otherwise, get the 2-piece set, so that way you have the body line here, and then if you ever went Z-Tune front fender, it's already got a body line there. It's not just a 1-piece skirt, because if you have a 1-piece skirt, that's a dead giveaway that it's a piece of fiberglass on that car. Well, I think that pretty much should answer all the questions about the exterior GTR conversion for the skinny body R34. Don't really hit me up on YouTube if you have any questions or want to commission me to do a build on your car. Probably better on Facebook, Brett Williams, or Instagram, which is @DriftTaxi. And you can see some other pictures of my cars and our drift cars and stuff like that, as well as follow this build on there that I'm doing right now and see all the parts that I'm using on this car. I guess I forgot, I should probably address one of the most common questions I get, and that is, what about just putting fiberglass quarters on? Well, I'm just gonna say don't do it. There's quite a few reasons. None of the body lines end up matching up very well. The bumper that you get, the fiberglass, you end up with a fiberglass bumper, a fiberglass taillight piece, and a fiberglass quarter. And sometimes the taillight piece isn't even necessary because it doesn't have the correct body line. It just kind of dead ends like this one does. But then you also end up with a fiberglass side skirt. So pretty much this whole area, there, everything just doesn't look good from the rear of the car. It's all just aftermarket, non-fitting. And the worst part about it is that you can't get a nice gas door, because when you put a fiberglass over on here, the OEM gas door doesn't work. If you put it on, it hits the over. So then you got to make some custom piece there, and it never works out good. So my recommendation is OEM rear. You can put some Z-Tune or fiberglass stuff on the front. It's all bolt-on stuff. You don't usually have an issue depending on how you want it to look. OEM rear.